I had no plans to start racing a mod car anytime soon, but the opportunity to buy an RC28 chassis at an unreal price popped up, so I went ahead and took it. This is my RC28, and here's what my pan car experience has been like as a complete noob. So I got into Mini Z racing last November, which means I was only about 4 months in whenever I bought this car. I did race RC as a kid, so I did have familiarity with the Team Associated brand, and I was kind of familiar with like the normal RC setup of, everything being its own component instead of having a board kind of like the Mini Zs have. From that aspect, putting this together, being that the chassis was already assembled, was pretty straightforward. I just mounted up the motor, the ESC. Obviously, it's pretty much all servo tape. I bought a lot of these components from people at the track who were very deep into the mod car scene, so they had a lot of extra stuff laying around. They sold me the Hobbywing Easy Run motor. I got the Reflex ESC, so I have the programming card to be able to customize that a little bit, which I'm still new to. It's my first time ever programming an ESC. I did buy the Reedy ESC new at the track, and for the receiver, I went with the FlySky one. I did unfortunately break the one that I bought at the track because it came in like a little case, so I had to remove that case to fit the receiver on this chassis, and I broke the antenna off, so I ended up ordering a new one online. I got the car assembled, and despite not building the kit, putting it all together like this and not just buying like a completely ready to run car did help me with my understanding of the chassis and kind of how it goes together. I had to make a few runs to Hobbytown for some help with soldering, and they did a great job at my local Hobbytown. And honestly, they were really excited because outside of RCP tracks, like places where people race, people have seen the Mini Zs, but they haven't really seen these little pan cars. So just bringing the chassis in a box, like both of the guys up there were really excited to see it, which I love because I was really excited to even try it. Like at this point, I'd had it for like a week and I hadn't even got to drive it yet. But that was really fun, kind of making a couple runs to Hobbytown. It kind of took over my week, actually. I probably spent an irresponsible amount of time working on this car and getting it together. The other thing that took a lot of time for me was painting, because I don't consider myself to be artistic or anything, and I honestly, working on the cosmetic side of almost anything, whether it's like a motorcycle, full-size car, or even this tiny little RC body, it really stresses me out. So at first I only painted the Lexan portion of the car and the wing. So on the PN C9 body, which is what I'm running, the roof of the car and the wing are Lexan. So I painted that, and then the car cosmetically looked a little bit bland to me. So I went ahead and threw on these Proline stickers that I had sitting around, and then also some Area RC stickers that I had. But ultimately, it still looked a little bit bland. So I went back in and I painted, and this was after I'd already run it on the track, but I went back and I painted kind of around the body some black details, and I think that really kind of made it pop and made it look more like a real car and a little less toyish. But to me, I felt like a little kid. I used to watch Ultimate RC, and I wished I was able to race, but I didn't really have a track nearby after Mike's shut down. I know you DFW area people might remember Mike's, but watching Ultimate RC and the detail with which he built these kits, I remember specifically the TLR22 buggy. It made me like want to build my own car from scratch like that. And even though I bought the chassis already assembled, it kind of fulfilled a little bit of that kid wish in me to build my own race car. And I know this thing is far from perfect. Cosmetically, it's I call it a 10-footer. Like, I think it looks good on track, but when you pick it up, it's like, paint job's a little fuzzy. But mechanically, I think I did a good job. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. Everything went together fairly easily. I mean, it's a pretty small car, but it wasn't very challenging to build. I enjoyed the process of decorating the car and trying to make it look cool and look good. And when it came to driving it, man, the first time I took it on the track, it was just like, it blew my mind how fast it was, how punchy it was. I drove it a little bit on my Harbor Freight tiles at home, but it was really way too powerful for that small of an area. I've played around and gotten some help with tuning the ESC. I would say that I'm still getting there as far as driving it. I have like good speed with the car, and like between my driving and the setup on the car, I'm close to the fast guys. There's one guy who just owns this class at our track, and then the guy that's always in second. I match his pace, but I'm just nowhere near as consistent. I'm at a place with this where I'm still trying to figure out, is that because the setup is a little bit too aggressive, or am I just needing to to really rein in my driving for a car of this speed. Compared to the Mini Zs, which really, now that I've got them set up fairly well, you can kind of take most of the track pretty close to flat out. It's an adjustment going from like a stock Mini Z class to running the mod car. I find in the mod car that I'm lifting for a lot of the bigger turns too, which in the Mini Z, they're just completely flat, especially when you're running like the PN and market tires. I would say I'm definitely not an expert in any aspect yet of these mod cars, but if you're looking to get into it, the process of the build is really fun. I enjoy getting to kind of do my own thing. You know, you get to pick all the components, which it can seem overwhelming, but in my opinion, it's kind of fun. To me, it almost feels like Formula One, where it's like, hey, I'm like developing this chassis and trying to create a fast race car here. And there's like kind of like the sky's the limit in some ways. Another thing is, compared to the Mini Zs, these are all overpowered. Like I'm running the Easy Run motor, which is, it's a 3500 kV, but a bigger can, and it's banned in any 28 SRA sanctioned racing. I mean, at the club level, it doesn't matter, but it's too much power. It's more power than you really need for any Mini Z track I've actually been to. Compared to the stock class racing, the speed comes more from just sheer chassis and tuning setup understanding, and then also just driving. Whereas like with the Mini Z, it's interesting because it's a box stock. I just last week tried the Carrera batteries in my stock car. I did a session with the regular Genzace batteries that I've been running, and then as soon as I came off track, a friend at the track offered to let me use his Carrera batteries, and they were fully charged, so I basically immediately just swapped in the Carrera batteries, went back on track. I just driven that car, so I felt like comfortable and confident, and I literally went 0.6 faster in like the first 3 laps. You could immediately feel the punch on the trigger. You know, there were some tight sections of the track that I actually had to be a little bit less aggressive getting on the throttle, and that was just with the battery change. Now with these cars, everybody knows which batteries are good, and they're not hard to come by in the way that the Carreras are. Like for example, I'm running the Reedy battery, which almost any hobby shop that sells Mini Zs has it, and then if not, you know, there's plenty of websites that stock Team Associated stuff, or you could even just buy it direct from Team Associated. And then this Hobby Wing motor, I've also found online. It's readily available. It's not difficult to find. So again, you're just more worried about the setup of the car and the driving instead of looking for these niche parts to help make your car faster. And then also things like the water break-in and all that. These just have so much power that that's not a problem. Now, I do understand that I am still not fully in control of these cars. Maybe once I'm getting to a point where I'm able to run, you know, at 90 plus consistency for the race distance, then the power will be more of an issue, and it might be good to have more power, but I think that's a long way off for me, and just consistency is the main thing that's going to help me keep taking steps forward with this car. It's nice to just be able to focus on the tuning and the driving with this car and not be so worried about the black magic and the secrets of speed, which that is also fun to play with, but in my mind, I'd rather just be like turning wrenches and driving the car than, you know, hunting websites to try to buy AAA batteries from Hong Kong. The other thing that I noticed is like the reaction time. So like getting confident driving this car and like being intentional with like picking lines, going around slower cars in practice, it makes the reaction time in the stock class cars feel really slow, which you have to be quite a bit more thoughtful with what you're doing because of how fast it goes and how much power it has. There's a lot less margin for error, but I think having a car that acts so differently from my other 2 cars makes me think about the driving in all 3 classes a lot more. It was a lot easier to just kind of sink into a groove, just do my thing in the 2 different classes I was running. But now, because this one is so different, I have to like consciously drive and not just kind of be predictive and let things flow. So there's still kind of a flow state to driving, but it's a much more like intentional flow state. And I find myself paying closer attention to the attitude of the car, like what the body roll is looking like and things like that, to try to read what's going on with it and figure out how to make it do what I'm wanting it to do. It becomes both like a hot rodding competition and a driving competition. And I also love the idea of how polarizing that is, because that fact is both why the class is popular and why some people love it. And it's also why some people hate it, because some people just want to take the car out of the box, go drive. They don't want to think about all these things. And especially for beginners, it's not very friendly when you're like, hey, well, there's this one that kind of does this and this one. And it's like you almost need to have driven Mini Z or RC cars in general and have an understanding of your preferences before you can start looking into these things. Otherwise, you're just kind of going in blind and you have no idea how to kind of set the car up. Like, I know I prefer like a pointy car that has a lot of front end, because I feel that I can control, and be smooth, but I like having that extra steering available compared to a car that almost has to be driven on rails. It doesn't have the ability to take a narrower line into a corner one lap versus the next. That's just my preference, but my point was, if you haven't driven anything at all, or you haven't spent a lot of time and really gotten a grasp of driving any class at all yet, you're not going to really understand what you want out of a car like this in order to make educated decisions on what chassis, what components you're going to buy. So in my opinion, I definitely got into this early in my RC racing career, but I'm glad that I did, because I feel like it's also helped me understand it top to bottom a lot more than racing in the stock classes were. But I'm curious what you guys think, because the mod classes are usually some of the lighter fields on a given race day. Would you prefer having a stock racing class where you just have, your main issue is power, but other than that, everything is pretty determined for you with just minor tuning options? Or do you like to have kind of a relatively blank canvas? I mean, the cars in the Pan Car class vary so much. I mean, you have the 3D printed cars like the Club Race Hero, all the way to like a full kit like this. There's many other kits too, and people have very strong opinions on which ones are the best. And I do see how that leaves a lot of questions as far as which chassis does have the highest, potential. And there's no good way to know which one you'll like better, because you don't really get to drive them. There's not, a demo program or anything. So you just kind of have to spend anywhere from, $200 to $500 for a chassis and try it out. Maybe, you could sell it and probably get a good chunk of your change back, but that's still costly and time consuming compared to just opening a Mini Z, slapping some tires and a T-plate on it, and then you got to get your batteries from Hong Kong to be fast. But so would you want to dive into all of that research and almost R&D in a way, or do you like sticking to the relatively stock class car where maybe some people's cars can be a little bit better than yours, but overall you have basically the same equipment? Let me know what your take on this is down in the comments below, and remember to subscribe to the Mini Racers for all things Mini Z racing. Now, I know this technically isn't Mini Z racing, but it's Mini racing, so deal with it.